Jesus says in verse 14, watch out and be on guard against all greed, because one's life is not in the abundance of his possessions. Understand, Jesus is not against investments. He's just against foolish investments. He's not against possessions. He's just against foolish usage of possessions and allowing possessions to make you foolish. And so the story that Jesus tells really challenges us to ask, is there any way in which possessions, in which stuff is making us foolish? Could it be that our wisdom is just a little bit fuzzy, or maybe a lot fuzzy, because of our attitude toward stuff? Now, the wonderful thing about Jesus' story is that I think he gives us 4 tests of foolishness. 4 tests whether possessions are making us wise or foolish, whether our reactions to them are wise or foolish. And the first test is the priority test. One sign that possessions are making us foolish is confused priorities. We can recognize confused priorities. We see it in this man quite readily, and we see it in others as well. I heard recently, true story, about a woman in New Jersey, Marie Murphy, who got a call that her house was burning down. Immediately she dropped everything and went back home. True story. And when she saw that her husband and daughter were safe, she thought about her prized possession, something that she just could not bear going up in flames. And so, risking life and limb, even though the house is on fire, she rushed into the house, grabbed this prized possession, and brought it out with her. You say, oh, it was pictures. No. Oh, it was family jewels. No. It was tickets, Philadelphia Phillies season tickets. And we go, oh, really? Phillies tickets? Right, we're thinking of they're Nationals tickets, maybe Phillies tickets. You're also saying, but wasn't her name in the Phillies database? By the way, the Phillies acknowledged her for this. There was a big news story about it. Couldn't they have just reprinted the tickets? The answer is yes. Her name was in the database. They could have just reprinted the tickets. But that's what possessions do to us. In the moment, possessions just kind of make our priorities fuzzy, messed up. And so it is with this man. He's forgotten his focus on God. Did you notice? He never thanks God. Every good and perfect gift is from God. But this guy's priorities are messed up. He doesn't thank God. He doesn't ask God for wisdom. All wisdom is from God. God says in James, ask and I'll give it to you, without finding fault. You'd think, if he had his head on straight, you'd think, God, what do you want me to do? But verse 17, he just thought to himself, what should I do? I don't know. I don't have anywhere to store my crops. I will do this. He just thought to himself. But the real problem with his priorities, the reason he doesn't thank God, the reason he doesn't ask God for directions is ownership confusion. That's how possessions mess up our priorities, right? We forget who owns it all. Many have pointed out the prepositions this guy used: my crops, my barns, my grain, my goods. He never stops to ask the question, who owns it all? And truthfully, can we be once again, if we're really honest, can we be too critical of him? I talk about my car, or my house, or my phone. And is it really my car? It's paid for. It has 200,000 miles on it, but it is my car. But I know in 10 years from now, it's probably going to be scrap metal somewhere, not my car. I'm talking about my house. And after a decade or so more payments, it'll be paid off. But I know my great-great-great-great-grandchildren are not going to drive down Selborne Lane and point and say, look at the house my grandparents still own. They're going to probably say, look at the database where my grandparents' house used to be, kind of thing, It's not my house. It's not my body. It's not they're not my shoes. They're his. Jesus says in verse 20, God says, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded of you, and the things that you have prepared, whose will they be?" You want to be a financial genius? You know where it begins? If death can take it away, it's not your stuff. Look at it and say, "Not mine. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it." I cannot talk about financial, some of you know what's coming because you've been around, without thinking about that time that the dad took his son to McDonald's. And this asked, "What do you want to have for lunch?" And the son said, "I'll McNuggets and some fries." And the dad said, "Okay." And dad got him some extra large fries, thinking that the two of them could share. Dad pays for the food. He takes the food over. He distributes the food. He prays, "God, thank you for the food." And as the dad is eating, he reaches over to help himself to some of the fries that he purchased. And his son is like, "No, Dad, these are my fries." And immediately the dad's like, I don't think that my son understands the concept of these fries. My son does not understand. I bought the fries. They're my fries. Every good and perfect fry comes from the Father, me. He has fries because I am the good fry giver. They're not his fries. They're my fries. Second lesson he doesn't realize is I'm a lot bigger than he is. I have the power to take the fries if I really want to. They're my fries. I have the power. The third lesson he doesn't understand is that I don't need his fries. I could go buy more fries. I could go buy piles of fries, so he is swimming in fries. I don't need his fries. But the sad thing the dad thought was, my son, as long as he has this sense of ownership, he's never going to be able to enjoy feeling free with being generous with the fries. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. And whenever we allow possessions, whenever we start to say, "My fries, my barns, my farm," we forget, no, God owns it all. And when this life is over, I'm not going to own any of it. We don't realize that God has all power. He could take those things from us in a moment if he wanted to. And we don't realize God doesn't need our stuff. When God sets our financial priorities, it's not because he needs our stuff. It's because he wants us to have joy. He wants us to share in his goodwill. You want to be wise with your possessions, then live like God owns it all.